Hey everyone, so switching to my GoPro here for a minute so that we can easily get down underneath the trailer. And as you can see, there is some rust underneath, especially the area where the storage box, both battery storage box and the main storage box, there's some rust up in here. So I'm gonna remove these storage boxes. Gonna have to disconnect a bunch of wires, and then we're gonna start cleaning that up if necessary. As check the status, as you can see, some pretty significant deterioration there. We might have to replace this plate and weld something new in if we need to, but let's start with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit all these bolts with a little bit of WD-40 just to make sure that it's a lot easier to remove. So let that soak in a bit. Because they look pretty rough. And then in the meantime, I can work on disconnecting all the wiring so that I can remove the wires. I don't like the way these wires are run, actually exposed below the metal frame rather than above it. You know, you get rocks or something throwing up, so I'll probably want to fix that. Gonna pull out this cotter pin on the side steps so that I can get ready to get these out of the way. First things first, disconnecting all the wires from the batteries and all the electronics, so we don't have to worry about shocking ourselves, while at the same time I'm going to have to disconnect this stuff just to make sure that I can get the wires out of the way. So we're going to disconnect using a 14mm. Just disconnect the positive and negative wires here. Alright, so we got our positive and negative wires removed. Probably take some photos just to make sure I can't forget how anything has gone together. Always like to do that when I'm working on anything, just as a backup. My memory, if I come back later, may not remember it. So now, just removing the last bolt that holds the batteries in, so I can remove the batteries, because otherwise this container would be way too heavy with these batteries in it. Trying to remove the container with those would be crazy. So I'm going to remove the batteries, and then that should lighten the load a bit. So before I start disconnecting cables, one thing I like to do if I can
is label things, especially if it's not clear to me which one goes to which. In this case, battery right, battery left. I also labeled the location of the batteries left and right, so it's obvious. Also, these inputs on these wires from the solar panel, not clear which one has to go where, but I labeled in 1 and 2, and then labeled the cables 1 and 2, just to make things, in case I start disconnecting those wires or need to make my life easier when it comes time to put it back together. I may do the same thing with other ones, or just take a photo, depending on what is easier. So wiring, always a fun mess to deal with, but here we are. So I have, let me see if I can get in there closer. So there's the junction box. I need to take that apart so I can pull the wires out and pull the box off. I took a photo of that, but I'm still not confident with the photo being just enough, so I'll probably label some of these wires just to make my life easier later on, and then pull it all out before I do that. So I'll probably label one bolt stud at a time with the wires, and just kind of work my way across just to make sure that I got everything labeled properly. Alright, I don't know if you can see it very well, but I've labeled all the wires in this junction box with a number, and then so that I know which pin is which. On the top of the box, I've labeled the numbers, and to know which side I'm referring to, I put a little red sticker on both sides of the box, inside and out, so that I can come back. I really wish when they made the trailer, not only did they label the wires in some fashion that you would know where they go, but also in addition actually told you what they go to, like they do in cars, you know, and that way you actually know which wire is running to what the function, and save headache later on if you ever wanted to rewire something. But alas, there is literally no labeling whatsoever, and I learned that when I had to redo some wiring for the 7-pin connector to the trailer. So lesson learned, and anyone making a trailer, please do that. That is just good practice, and save people headaches a lot later. So I have most of the wires, pretty much all the wires. I think there may be a ground wire. Pretty much all the wires disconnected up above. Now I just need to work on these screws, loosening these bolts so that I can pull all the wires out and then pull the top box off, because I'm pretty sure that these bolts hold it on as well. So that's next. So it turns out I spoke a little bit too soon. Some of the wires that go underneath actually connect to this giant cutoff switch, as well as the 110 outlet. So now I got to undo those wires if I'm going to pull them through. So the last thing I had to deal with was the ground bolt. On the outside they used one of these security star. Didn't have that, but on the inside they had a couple bolts that were easy to loosen and get all the ground wires off. And after doing that and removing the ground wires from the 110 junction box on the inside, I was able to pull all the wires out. So all wires are now free from the battery box. So I'm assuming that it should come out at this point. Let's give it a shot. So I thought, foolishly maybe, that those bolts on the bottom that went through the bottom plate were the only things holding the battery box in place. It turns out that that is not true.
after trying to move it and being unsuccessful, I looked a little closer. It turns out there's actually rivets between this bigger box and the battery box, so holding the two together, which now means I can't just do one at a time. I'm going to have to empty everything that's in this bigger box so that I can access the rivets, drill those out, and then I should be able to remove the front box. So let's give that a try. So I pulled away some duct tape that was between the box and the main cabin, the big box. This is the big box and the main cabin. And behind it, I found all this spray foam, often used in houses. So hopefully that won't give me a headache when I remove the box. My new strategy now is to unbolt the big box, because it clearly has these bolts that go through, and I might be able to remove both of them together is my hope. Let's see how it goes. So along the top we have this RV kind of tape that's used for sealing roofs, and more of that spray foam underneath. This is kind of a mess. Ugh. Especially when you're trying to pull on it and hold a camera. Gotta get all this stuff off because the top box won't come off if I don't have this removed. I got all the bolts loose and I try to make it move and it doesn't move. I'm guessing it's because this spray foam is acting like glue, holding it in place, making it really hard. So I'm trying to take a saw and cut away some of the spray foam. Hopefully break it free some. See how that works. So I have 2 bolts, one here on each side, one here, these 2 on each side. So I'm just gonna hit these quickly, get them off. Why is that a different size? I already did the other side and it works fine. Pop that one off. But this one appears to be a different size nut. And then after I loosen the nut, just tap this with a hammer. And that is out. Do that with all 4. Hopefully this thing will come loose. So, got it loose. The saw worked. Because now I can move it. There's something else holding it, but not sure where. I gotta check. I think there may be a screw there that's just slightly cut into the plate underneath. So it turns out there's just a couple screws in the front that were going through the sheet metal. I fixed that, got rid of them. Now it moves and I can take it off. So front storage case is removed, and here's what we got left. The plates underneath in many places are still pretty solid, but from underneath it's really flaking off and rusted. My bigger fear is when I peel away this stuff, I can feel water, which means that water has just been sitting in there and probably leaking through, which is not a good thing because the wood behind there could be very rotten. So fingers crossed it's not. I'm probably going to end up removing this trim to get a sense of what the wood looks like underneath behind it. So going to remove this trim along this top edge here of the diamond plate, and then along the bottom edge, and maybe some of the side here, just to get a sense of what kind of what I'm dealing with, because I have a strong feeling how wet it is down at the bottom there. Probably gonna have some issues, so let's get a see. So trim is off. Yeah, this needed to be resealed. Actually, the gap between the lower diamond plate and the upper aluminum is pretty big on one side. This side is pretty tight. But on this side, wow, gap is huge, which is not good. Either they did a really crummy job, or over time it just slid down, leaving a huge gap for water to come in. Alright, as you can see, I can just push on this and the whole bottom just moves like it's not even connected. This bottom trim was barely held in place. You can see it's looking pretty nasty. Alright, I'm going to do some of the side, not all of it, but some, just enough to get a sense of the state of the wood. Metric.
Pretty small, or
Loose. Ooh, look at that. Ooh. That is just, oh my gosh. That is just nasty. Do you think it's, what does it look like? Oh boy. What's that? Is that? Yeah, this is part of the bottom board, right?
Yeah. That's your bottom board there. That's
Oh yeah, that was part of the.
looks like they put a little piece of plastic on the bottom before they laid it on the frame.
Well, no, I think that's it comes that way.
Oh, that's right. It's got that.
It's got that plastic coating on it that's supposed to protect it, which didn't work.
Well, it came in from the other side. Oh man, that's rotten all the way to the tip of my finger.
Really? Yeah, it looks pretty.
You're gonna have to put something in there to.
Yeah.
Ah, shit.
Well, what we can do is
It looks like it's stapled here, right? Or is that where your screws were? That's screws. That doesn't look like screws.
Yeah, that doesn't look like screws. That looks like almost staples.
Staples or brad nails.
Yeah. Like even this edge of this piece is starting to rot too. But what you could do is you could, if you could lift it up, put something more structural in there, and then like fiberglass around it. You know, and that'll kind of give it strength.
Yep, absolutely. You got yourself a project. A project is a.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
What time is it?
7:50.
Oh really? Wow. Whew. I'm just seeing how strong it is. Ooh. Ooh. Oh wait, what is that? Oh. It's not solid.
I didn't think it was.
There's foam in there.
I got. I measured all them things and thought it was right, and what do I do? It doesn't fit in here. I gotta take them down a little narrower.
Oh really?
I couldn't believe that. I measured those things and I thought I was there. Got a little flat ply bar there, you'd be able to get right behind it. That is tissue paper.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. There must be a framework in there somewhere. And then they just laid that on and bent it right around there, easy peasy. And well, I'm guessing this.
Yeah, but oh man. And it's just a piece of styrofoam.
Well, like you said, that might have rotted all the way through, and they just threw that on there from the inside.
Let me try something.
What you seeing?
I mean, I can understand wanting to go light, but this is kind of...
That's the right.
Yeah, there was, at the bottom, it looks like there was like a
Half-inch piece.
a 1 by 2 inch piece of wood.
Okay. 3, 6, 7, 5.
Or maybe a 2 by 4
Could be. Who knows?
at the bottom, but that's it. And this stuff is just popping off because it's so thin. Just wanna... Oh, there's another
structure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew there had to be more in there.
but that's it. Anything? There's nothing in between.
From there to there is just 1/8 inch and whatever was on the inside, 3/16 or whatever we figured that other layer
Yeah,
was
something
inside.
like that, 1/4 inch or something maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Need to pull back the aluminum a little bit more.
That's insane.
Yeah. If I can pop that out a little, I can just cut along
Yeah.
that line and then we can probably it goes pretty good.
Yeah. As long as it's not got rotted wood underneath it.
Yeah. Actually, there's a line right there. No, that's just for
Too many dings.
yeah.
Go ahead, pull out if you get.
Oh, there it goes.
Poing!
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did, Chris. I wonder where the next piece of structure is. It's probably the one that goes across right where the dent is. Be my guess.
So it's actually pretty crazy. Got this front torn apart, and as you can see, the way this is constructed is kind of surprising because all there was is an 1/8 inch piece of plywood